Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Hey everyone, Joey here with you, the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. We are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. You can follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. Back again, folks, back in the saddle again. Just wanted right up at the top to send out my condolences on the death of Yutaka Yoshi. Died yesterday as I'm recording this after a match. So just very, very sad, very tragic. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his friends and fans and family. And then had a good weekend, folks. My knees are just aching and bothering me. I've been trying to get in shape for something, so I've been doing more exercise, walking, and it just catches up with the knees. And on Saturday, went out with my wife. Saturday, it rained all day. We had to go run some errands, pick up some groceries and things like that. And so yesterday, Sunday, it was just a rest day for us, and we did a few things around our apartment, getting ready for the week as we dive headlong into another week, getting closer and closer to WrestleMania, and I cannot wait for it. I'm looking forward to it so much. But today we look at Clash of the Champions 24 from WCW. Clash 24 was shown on TBS on August 18, 1993 from the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida. We start out with our intro. Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura welcome us to the Clash and state that Brian Pillman is injured and can't compete. The Hollywood Blondes gloat that Pillman is hurt, but Schiavone says the Blondes were informed that they must put up the titles so Lord Steven Regal will take Pillman's place. WCW World Tag Team Championship match. The Hollywood Blondes, Steve Austin and Lord Steven Regal subbing for Brian Pillman with Pillman and Sir William versus the Horsemen Arn Anderson and Paul Roma. Anderson and Austin start. They lock up and vie for position. Drive to a corner. They finally break up against the ropes. They lock up again and Anderson with a side headlock. Austin pushes off and Anderson comes back with a shoulder block. Austin with a big clothesline to Anderson. Austin with a snapmare and drops an elbow on Anderson. He gets a 2 count. Another snapmare and Austin is going after Anderson relentlessly. Anderson with a double leg pickup and punches Austin in the head. Anderson catapults Austin out to the apron. Austin gets back in the ring only for Anderson to backdrop him out to the floor. Austin grabs Anderson and pulls him outside. They exchange blows on the floor. Regal tagged in. Anderson with a wrist lock. Roma tagged in and he unloads on Regal. He punches Regal and gets a wrist lock on Regal. Back and forth. Roma with a drop kick. Regal with an Irish whip. Austin trips Roma and Regal takes advantage. Austin tagged in and hits a shot from the second rope as Regal holds Roma. Austin with an Irish whip and a back elbow. Austin with a suplex. He then chokes Roma on the second rope. Referee Nick Patrick gets Austin away, allowing Pillman to choke Roma on the second rope. Regal tagged in and he takes over on Roma. Regal with an Irish whip and Roma comes back with a sunset flip attempt. Regal drops straight down to avoid going over. Regal takes over and hits a gut-wrench suplex on Roma. He gets a 2 count. Austin tagged in and they trade blows in the corner. Austin with a 2 count. Regal tagged in and hit a corner whip and a charge. Regal with a single leg pickup. Austin tagged back in. Anderson goes after Sir William, distracting Patrick while Roma gets an inside cradle and gets a 1 count. Anderson hits Austin with a big left hand in the corner. Roma hits a modified stun gun on Austin. Anderson tagged in, but the ref didn't see it. Regal in without tagging, but Patrick didn't see that either. I don't get it. You have to stay consistent there. Austin and Anderson both tagged in. Anderson with an Irish whip and a backdrop. He cleans house. Anderson goes for a DDT on Austin, but gets hit from behind by Regal. Roma knocks Regal out of the ring. Pillman and Sir William both up on the apron with crutches. Anderson runs Austin into William and rolls Austin up to get the pin. New tag team champions. A replay shows that Anderson pulled the tights during the pin, and that makes Jesse livid. Eric Bischoff interviews the Horsemen. Paul Roma says they are willing to adapt to any situation, and he is proud to be a Horseman. Anderson says to be a Horseman means thinking singularly and acting as a collective, and tonight, they are the champions. Bobby Eaton versus Too Cold Scorpio. Scorpio is popular with the crowd as he comes out. They lock up and drive to a corner. They trade wrist locks. Eaton throws Scorpio out, but he grabs the apron and rolls Eaton up with a bridge to get a 2 count. Eaton with a clothesline. Eaton with punches to Scorpio in the corner. Eaton with a corner whip, but Scorpio drops down on the charge and Eaton runs into the turnbuckle. A crossbody by Scorpio gets the 2 count. A series of moves into an armbar, into a headlock, back and forth. Eaton chokes Scorpio on the second rope. Eaton with a hammerlock. Scorpio puts Eaton on the top rope and drop kicks Eaton to the outside. Scorpio with a suicide dive onto Eaton on the outside. Scorpio with a pair of corner whips and Eaton with a trip to get Scorpio down. Eaton with a swinging neck breaker and a flying elbow drop. He gets a 2 count. They exchange blows. Scorpio hits the 360 splash to get the pin. Mask versus Norma Jean match. Max Payne versus Johnny B. Bad. Payne attacks Bad as soon as Bad gets in the ring. He drops elbows on Bad and keeps up the attack. Bad tries to come back, but Payne ducks a crossbody attempt. Payne with a side slam. Payne takes off one mask, but Bad has another mask on underneath. Payne reverses an Irish whip, and Bad comes back with a flying head scissors. Payne comes back with a clothesline. Payne goes for the painkiller, and Bad comes back with an inside cradle for a 2 count. Payne with another clothesline. Payne drops an elbow. Payne misses a splash attempt, and Bad gets the pin. Bad gets Norma Jean. Jesse interviews Bad after the match. Bad is happy he won and says he will reveal what his face looks like on WCW Saturday night. A Flair for the Gold. This is probably the most infamous Flair for the Gold segment. Flair comes out and welcomes everyone. He introduces Fifi. He then brings out Sting and the British Bulldog. Flair talks about Fall Brawl coming up. They are fired up. They get interrupted by Sid Vicious, Colonel Parker, and the newly arrived Harlem Heat. They tell them to present their partner, and the Shockmaster debuts. You've seen the clip, folks. He falls through the wall. The helmet comes off. Davey Boy Smith says he fell on his ass. It's a whole thing. Vicious doesn't break at all. Now that's a professional. The late Ole Anderson is the voice of the Shockmaster. It's like that old joke about the faith healer, and the boy doesn't talk plain, and he comes up and he says he wants to talk plain. I'm not going to do the voice. And then he has a friend named Fred who's crippled, and they said go behind the wall, and he said say something, and he says Fred fell down. Well, Fred fell down on this one. Poor Uncle Fred. Here's Dusty Rhodes on the Shockmaster.
Obviously, I was there.
Obviously.
Who
came up with it?
I did. But Fred's a great guy.
Of course
we call him Uncle Fred. I'm going to tell you the story quickly. Uncle Fred, early in the day, had busted through this wall as the Shockmaster on a Flair for the Gold. Busted through the wall. Everything went good. David Crockett had somebody nail a 2x4 on the bottom of the new wall, which was not there when he busted through the wall the first time. Okay? The voice of Shockmaster was Ole Anderson. He was off in another deal with a microphone.
Also the voice of the Black Scorpion.
He had to say, I am the Shockmaster. I come to kick somebody's ass. You know what I mean? Well, we're all sitting there live, and all of a sudden the bomb went off, and Uncle Fred, poor Uncle Fred, Uncle Fred bust through, and he hit that 2x4 that David Crockett had put down there to sabotage my ass, had put there, and the Shockmaster fell flat on his ass. The helmet rolled off. He fumbled for the helmet, and I'm sitting there, what we call a gorilla position, and I'm started to rumble with the laughter to where they almost had to take me to the hospital. And as he fell and he found the helmet and he put it back on, and somebody stood up, and Ole's voice started cracking, and I'm the Shockmaster. So at home, they're watching this on television, all the kids.
Cody.
Young Cody's there. with all the kids. They're watching this. And the kids looked at it in fright, and they're laughing, and they looked at it in fright. And Cody turns around to all the other kids, and he says, I think that was Uncle Fred. And it was Uncle Fred. And if I'm laughing, the skit was over. Uncle Fred came out in front of the gorilla position table, and he knelt down and he flopped that helmet there.
And he said, I stick this.
I couldn't even talk. He used the F word. He said, I F this up, didn't I? I said, buddy, I laughed so hard. They had to take me to my room.
Tony and Jesse talk about Fall Brawl, and Jesse is still laughing about the Shockmaster. WCW World Television Championship match. Paul Orndorff versus Ricky Steamboat. Steamboat out first and does his fire-breathing gimmick. Orndorff out to chants of Paula. Michael Buffer does the introduction. Orndorff screams at the crowd. They lock up. Steamboat with a side headlock takeover for a 2 count. Orndorff pushes off. Steamboat with a shoulder block for a 2 count. And they start at a fast pace. Steamboat goes back to the side headlock, into a wrist lock, back and forth. Steamboat goes to the side headlock again. Steamboat goes to dive on to Orndorff, who ducks, and Steamboat falls out onto the ramp. Orndorff out after him and kicking Steamboat. He throws Steamboat back in and hits a top rope elbow smash. He gets a 2 count. Orndorff goes into a reverse chin lock. They trade moves and covers. Orndorff gets frustrated that he can't pin Steamboat. Orndorff reversing all of Steamboat's moves. He can't get the pin though. He throws Steamboat to the outside and follows out and attacks Steamboat. Steamboat comes back and hits a top rope chop to Orndorff. He gets a 2 count. Steamboat's the aggressor now. He's chopping Orndorff to the outside. He then hits a suicide dive onto Orndorff. Orndorff comes back with a shoulder block to get a couple of 2 counts. Orndorff comes over and grabs the TV title. Steamboat takes the opportunity to roll Orndorff up for a 2 count. Steamboat with a crossbody and Orndorff rolls through to get a 2 count, and this has been a tremendous match. Steamboat rolls Orndorff up to get the pin and become the new television champion. Orndorff attacks Steamboat and pile drives Steamboat on the belt. Officials out to check on Steamboat and to get Orndorff away. We get a Fall Brawl ad. Eric Bischoff interviews Harley Race, who is with the Kongs. Race talks about going after Ric Flair and Sting. The Colossal Kongs, Awesome and King with Harley Race versus Sting and Ric Flair. The bell rings and Sting attacks both Kongs with drop kicks. He then slams both and the crowd pops big for that. The Kongs roll out to regroup. All 4 in and going at each other. Flair and Awesome Kong fight to the outside while Sting and King fight on the inside. 2 drop kicks and a clothesline drop King. Sting hits the Stinger Splash as Flair goes after Race on the outside. Sting hits a splash from the top rope to get the pin. Tony interviews Ric Flair and Sting. Flair says Sting didn't need any help tonight. He says Saturday night they're going to renew their rivalry for the NWA title. Sting says he's hoping he can take the title again. They have mutual respect for each other. Tony and Jesse talk about Dustin Rhodes' secret partner and wonder who it is. Rick Rude in the Equalizer versus Dustin Rhodes and a mystery partner. Rude does his pre-match routine. Rhodes out and the partner drives up in the Camaro Z28 that they've been pushing all night that someone is going to win. Road Warrior Animal gets out of the car. Rude says, hold the phone. They said they prepared for Animal. Hawk comes from behind. So it's Hawk as Dustin's partner. An LOD chant goes out. Hawk and Rude start. Hawk pushes Rude off. Hawk wants a test of strength. Rude trying to psych Hawk out. They finally lock up. Hawk with the early advantage. Equalizer tagged in. Hawk with a drop kick. It goes outside. They battle back in and Hawk goes for a neck breaker. Equalizer slips out. Hawk with some corner whips. Equalizer with a big boot. Rude tagged back in. He gets a reverse chinlock on, but Hawk gets to his feet. Rhodes tagged in and they do the Doomsday device, but Rude gets back to his feet. Rhodes with a backdrop. Rude comes back with a clothesline. Rude with the top rope forearm shot. Equalizer tagged in. Heels double team Rhodes. Equalizer with a back elbow and a choke slam. Rude tagged in. He grabs and holds Rhodes for Equalizer to clothesline. Equalizer tagged in, but Rhodes ducks the clothesline and Rude hit instead. Hawk tagged in, but referee Randy Anderson didn't see it. Hawk cleaning house. Double clothesline to the heels. Heels clotheslined out to the floor. Equalizer hits Hawk from behind, so Hawk comes in and crossbodies Rhodes onto Equalizer for the pin. Tony and Jesse talk about the main event and show the Z28 sweepstakes ad. WCW World Heavyweight Championship match. Big Van Vader with Harley Race versus Davey Boy Smith. The disqualification rule is waived. Michael Buffer introduces the match. They start by fighting on the runway. They trade shots. Vader with a clothesline. Smith with a suplex on the runway. Smith with a clothesline. Another clothesline after a drop kick by Smith. Smith tries to splash Vader, but Vader gets his knees up. Vader punishing Smith in the corner. He throws Smith out of the ring. Smith moves on a Vader charge and Vader hits the barricade. Smith then drops Vader on the barricade. Back in, Smith gets Vader up on his shoulders and hits a fallaway slam, but Vader puts his foot on the ropes to break the pin attempt. Back and forth. Vader drops an elbow. He batters Smith on the ropes and clotheslines him. Vader with a fallaway slam. Top rope splash for a 2 count. Vader gets a sit-down splash, but Smith moves and gets a 2 count. Vader with another splash. Vader with a rear chinlock. Smith gets out and goes for a crucifix. Vader falls back and Smith gets a 2 count. Vader hits Smith with shots in the corner. Vader gets a foot up and hits a Vader bomb for a 2 count. Vader goes up again and Smith grabs him and power slams him off. But Nick Patrick gets taken out as well. Smith gets Vader up, but Race clips the knee. Patrick recovers and counts the pin. Smith attacks Race after the match. Vader attacks Smith until Cactus Jack comes out and attacks Vader. They then sign off from Daytona Beach. Final thoughts. The last match was okay, but this has to be seen for the Shockmaster's debut. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.